Well, we are back. We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Today we got a special guest. Mm-hmm. Josh Stewart.
That's right.
Is in the house.
I only got 2 specials.
You want another special?
No,
special.
Not that special.
Special guest.
Very special.
Should have got like half a special.
I thought that intro was pretty good. If you don't mind me saying.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, bro. What's good? How you doing? Everything good?
Good. Yeah. Everything's good.
Nice.
Been out here for a week avoiding the cold.
The cold, the bomb cyclone.
Yeah.
You're from Florida, right?
Right.
Which part of Florida?
I'm from Tampa.
Tampa?
Yeah.
Oh.
Born and raised in Tampa. Lived
Okay.
pretty much every part of Tampa you can live in.
Oh, sick.
My brother was a heavy skater in the 80s and ended up getting sponsored, and he rode for like 8th Street and then to Life, when it changed, when they splintered off to Life. Yeah. And so I was just constantly surrounded by it. Mm-hmm. And in the late 80s, skateboarding had exploded in the mid 80s, I think, Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so my brother would try to get me to skate, and I just my memory of it is I didn't want to do it because it was popular at that time. But, that's like this idealistic, I was so cool, I didn't want to do it. Right. But, and I literally one summer, I dressed like a skater. Kids called me Skate, and like making fun of me, and like because I bounced all over Florida or Tampa. I went to like junior high and like kind of like a rednecky part of middle school.
Okay.
In a rednecky area, and like the only kid dressing like that, and so it was like I was already getting made fun of for being a skater and wasn't a skater yet. And I just remember, I think it was the summer of 88 or 89. I was like, I swear to God, this is how I was like, I'm gonna you go home for summer, and I was like, I'm gonna start skating as a way to like get in shape, and like girls are gonna, what I mean? Like I'm gonna come back like in shape and cool.
Were you not in shape, or you?
I wasn't like fat or anything, but
No one's calling you Fat Josh?
No. But so I like went in my brother's closet, and he just had, all kinds of, it was like a graveyard of old skate parts. And so I put together a skateboard not knowing what I was doing. And he came home one day, and he was probably like 15 or so when I started. And I was skating a Marty Jimenez Jinx board, freestyle board. And he's like, dude, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
I was like trying to so yeah, he got me set up with I think a donger board or something.
Oh, wow.
My first board.
And how old were you?
I think I was 11. I was 11 or 12.
Right.
Yeah. I just, we all, seems like everybody knows exactly. Like I started in March, 21st, and it's like, it was 88 or 89 as far as I remember, but not.
How old was your brother when he got sponsored?
I'm not sure. There was somehow like that Tampa Bay area was just a hotbed of amazing talent in that era. You had Mike Dare and George Dare, his brother, who read for Blind. Yeah. And I mean, that even preceded me paying attention. I never really saw his brother skate, but so I'd come out of my room as like a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, and Bo Turner and like Scott Conklin or somebody would be in my house, or but that scene, it's like John Montesi, Lance Conklin, Bo Turner, Mike Dare, Mike Frazier, all from that area and that same era, and just for to be all the way, in Florida and have that much in this, Florida's huge too, but just in that little concentrated area. So I'm assuming my brother was sponsored probably by the age of 15, something like that.
And you didn't really know who these people were till later, maybe.
No.
Like, whoa, that was fucking so-and-so sitting there. Wow.
As a kid, I liked to collect, I'd go in the woods and find bullet shells, and I'd collected replica guns and swords and all kinds of weird shit. So Bo Turner would always, not always, maybe it was 2 or 3 times, but when he'd come over to our house, he'd come by and yo, let me check this stuff out. And he was the nicest one. He was the most outgoing and nicest person to me as a little kid. And then my brother started telling me eventually stories about Bo, and he was just basically known for
fighting.
Yeah, for fighting.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. And but yeah, it's just a funny thing that this dude who was this badass, was the nicest out of all those dudes. But
and then so did you like try to get sponsored and all that stuff? Or
No, I liked filming a lot.
Okay.
I basically, like, a year after starting skating, my parents had like a little VHS-C camcorder that you have to put the little tape in, whatever.
Oh yeah.
So, filming my friends and myself or whatever, but I just knew that I didn't have like a style that was going to be like, or I felt like I didn't, you know what I mean? So I'd never really tried to get sponsored. I skated like contests and stuff, and like when the skate park at Tampa opened in '93.
Tampa Am.
Started working with those. Yeah, I skated one Tampa Am, I think. Yeah.
Did you lose the weight and get the girl?
That's a question we've been all waiting for.
No, I might have lost the weight, but I don't think I got any girls.
Okay. So you just gravitated towards camera, filming and stuff.
I mean, I was skating I was one of those filmers who like everybody has to wait to try to like do a trick, because I was skating just as much as I was filming. Right. It was just like, for me, honestly, I mean, going back with my brother having just like skate videos laying around always as a little kid, I would play like, I'm trying to think of videos that were out before I was skating, but obviously all the Powell videos or something. And I remember like, aside from like Lance Mountain, just how like I thought he was really funny and enjoyed. I wasn't really interested in the skating, but there was something about the way like music could pull, the way the music and the way it was edited would pull you interest. I'm like, I'm not really interested in skating, but this is making me feel something.
Wow. Okay.
Like like the opening. I don't know if it's Band This, the one where it's like the where they're skating like a ditch, and it's like but Stacy edited the music, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not going to sing it, but he made the music too, but it was like, it was so sick. And I would take like a little, like audio recorder and record that off the TV and then listen to it in my room.
Oh, wow. And
there's something about that, obviously, that like attracted me to before I even started skating. And then,
Animal Chin? Wallows?
No, it was like,
Roger, help him out. What are you doing?
Trying to remember.
You're not on point tonight.
All of those open.
Working all day.
All those videos open with the Ripper, right, coming like the skeleton. So, but it was like, dude, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Band This, but anyways, so I was always interested in trying to recreate that.
Oh, okay.
Which meant the first like 10 things I made were just, I'd use all the same music, like Plan B Questionable video came out using like the same Pennywise song, the same hieroglyphic song. Oh, yeah, exactly.
And you're editing just like, you don't have like a computer program, right? You don't have
I was
Premiere?
the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you deck to deck? VCR to VCR?
Camera to VCR.
Camera to VCR. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Just making videos of my friends and I. But basically, I had one friend who skated, in that town.
Okay.
My other friend, Josh Markison, was his name. And there was one point, literally, where there was a third person who skated in our little town, and his name was Josh, too. So there was 3 Joshes.
Well, for the titles, you could just do the first name and then change the last name. You're good.
Right. So it was just, in that era, which is so weird, obviously, now, but in we were in this huge high school in Tampa.
Okay.
And there was literally 2 skaters, you know what I mean? It's just like, and there was this huge contrast, obviously, between California, because when I turned 18 and did that, the pilgrimage to San Diego.
Okay.
And the day you get here, there's like literally seeing like dads bombing a hill on a skateboard. You know what I mean?
It's
just
a whole
like
different
what the
thing.
hell?
Yeah. Well, speaking of the pilgrimage to when you turned 18, you moved to San Diego.
No, I didn't move here.
Oh, you just
I just did
ventured
the
out.
drive. Yeah, I did the
Oh,
drive.
you drove out.
White Lightning?
Yeah. That was before White Lightning. That was actually.
You got a car named White Lightning?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't call it that.
No.
I didn't name it that.
So why'd you come out to San Diego?
That's where everything was coming out of at the time. That was 95.
Did you come out with Josh and Josh?
No. No. Just, did the drive out here, and I ended up, it was when like I heard Ty talking about that whole like Cardiff by the Sea apartment area where like all the Earth and Rhythm guys were like living, and Neil Mims actually was living somewhere there, and he was like the only dude I had some kind of connection. I'd filmed with him in Tampa off and on. So
He's really from Florida, right?
Yeah, he's from Jacksonville. Yeah. I mean, realistically, going back, the skate park at Tampa opening is like kind of like this obviously huge important moment in my history, essentially,
Okay.
because you had these awesome scene of skaters, you know, like I said, Mike Dare and all these guys, but the skate park at Tampa opening, that's what kind of like brought this, like, it was obviously this home base that brought dudes from, like, there was like the North Carolina dudes like Will Harmon and Kenny Hughes, and then there was like Matt Milligan down in Fort Myers and his whole scene, but there was, and then Paul Zitzer moved there from Wisconsin, Milwaukee. And so you had Zitzer and Mike Frazier and Brian Howard on the vert ramp all day inside the park. And then you had all these street skaters coming into town. And so it's like, I'm a skater who likes to make videos, but then you just find, it's like, there was nobody filming. There was like one other dude, this guy Ryan, who would help film the vert guys occasionally. And it was like, it just became, it wasn't like I was like, this is what I'm going to do, you know, for a living. But like Paul Zitzer and Frazier were kind of like these in-house dudes there every day who needed, like Frazier needed to film for the stereo video, you know what I mean? And I'm a terrible filmer, but you know, he has no other option. So, you know,
Come on, kid, let's do this.
Yes. Right? So that was kind of, for me, you know, if the skate park at Tampa hadn't been there, who knows, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
okay. Yeah.
But just like this constant cycle of dudes passing through, like Jamie Thomas passing through on, I don't know why he was there, but I think he was there by himself. He might have been in town to film with Alyssa or something for Toy Machine. Oh, wow. Because she lived down in Fort Myers, and I ended up filming with him all over downtown Tampa. And I think there's like one or two tricks from that day that ended up in Welcome to Hell. But it was like, you know, one of those like connections, you know.
Right.
We didn't, like, you know, back then I didn't have an email address. Like you didn't even have email back then in 95 yet.
Were you shooting for Cigar City then?
Yeah, I probably had just started working. I had done like a series of like different videos, you know, like Florida-based videos.
Okay.
And Cigar City was the first one that was like, I'd made, you know, like 100 copies. I'm like, I'm going to sell these, you know.
Oh, you just went out and made your own video.
Actually, I didn't make 100. Sorry. Actually, there was a video before that I just made 100 copies called Prospects. And then that was like all Florida, you know, Florida dudes.
Okay.
And then Cigar City was like the one that was like, tried to get it distributed and, you know, made.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The skate shops video, right? World Market.
World Market was after Cigar City. Yeah.
So Cigar City was you just named it Cigar City and tried to get it distributed.
Right. It's based on, you know, based around Tampa, Cigar City, you know, it's basically.
What happened? Did you sell it or what happened?
Yeah. I mean, it was like, I started working on it when I was in high school. It probably came out in like 96, I would imagine. But, you know, it was like, it was the first, like, okay, this is going to be an actual video. You know, the other videos were like, I'd made several, but they were, you know, it wasn't something that went beyond Tampa. Right. And so this one had like, mostly all Tampa-based dudes, but like Mike Frazier had a part, and like, it's a hard one to remember exactly who all
Didn't
had
McKinley
parts.
have footage in it?
Who?
Robin McKinley?
No, Robin McKinley was in Rising, the World Market video.
This is he's from Florida.
Yeah. This is random, but what I remember one dude stuck out to me. Was his name Ricky Dixon?
Yeah.
Dude, he was sick. I just never seen him in that
awesome.
video.
Nolly Hills.
Awesome.
Dude.
Yeah. He got super good Nolly Hills.
Dude, he was so sick.
Yeah.
He was so sick. And it was, and that was like, as a filmer, at a certain point, you realize that you're this, I use the word conduit, which is like it sounds like pretentious word, but you're this, you know, this voice, you provide a voice, you know what I mean? For like, and so slowly figuring that out, that, you know,
You can shine some light on these dudes.
Yeah, and you're so far in Florida. You're so far from the industry. You know, especially at that time, there was no industry outside of California.
Right.
You really, and so somebody like a Ricky Dixon, who like is obviously awesome, and Jeff Lenosi, you know, who was just a little 12-year-old kid, who was so good. Like everybody knew, you know, like just would sit back and watch him skate the skate park at Tampa. Him and his friends, who were like 12 and 13 years old. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
And just be, you know, having the opportunity to like try to get those dudes seen outside of Tampa.
Right. Wow.
Which, I mean, I think like Reynolds probably ended up hooking up Jeff way back then from just seeing him at the skate park, and the skate park at Tampa was a platform as well for
that's true.
all those dudes to get seen.
It still is,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Totally. But yeah, so that the Cigar City was like the first video, and it's one of those weird, because back then there were no independent videos coming out except for probably Dan Wolf's
Yeah,
videos.
Underachievers.
And that was before, and Underachievers came out in 96. So I think Cigar City came out right around that same time. But he, like, I'll be like talking to somebody from Germany, and he's like, Cigar City, I got that video when I was like a little kid. And it's just one of those, because there was so few other videos coming out, it got way out far beyond what it should have, by today's standards.
Did you make money off of it?
It's probably not, But
I mean, still, even you're in high school doing this.
Right.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
To get that thing out there to the world.
I was fortunate to be, like I said, that skate park of Tampa, being there, and all the talent and like, like people who were actually like Mike Frazier has a full part in like the first stereo video, you know what I mean? Like him, those guys being around helps obviously give it more legs, and having them in the video.
Yeah.
So I mean, even Deluxe, carried some of those videos and helped distribute it because they have, Frazier. Yeah. And so that era was so, where I was cold calling places like Deluxe or Eastern, and I'm like 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid, and trying to and dudes actually like Reggie Barnes at Eastern, like, okay, here, I'll tell you, this is how, pricing works, and this is how distribution works, you know what I mean? And stuff like that.
They're like, how much did you pay to have this made? $12? All right, we'll give you 13.
Crazy though. I mean, at that age to do that, and to have the balls to go out and call everybody. I mean, who was doing that?
That was the only way you can talk to anyone.
I know, but still though.
Or you start calling shops yourself.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Never called a shop in my life. Cigar City, what was next after that Robbie McKinley was in?
That was Skate Park of Tampa opened a second shop called World Market.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I was doing a second, basically it was going to be like a Cigar City 2, essentially.
Okay.
And at some point, all the guys from, that scene who rode for World Market were in the video, and I just talked to Brian Schaefer. I was like, this should just be a World Market video, So that's basically became their skate shop video.
Oh, okay.
For that.
Wow.
And Jamie Thomas had a part in Cigar City. I forgot
No
to
way.
mention
Oh,
that
really?
too.
Yeah. Did you take his footage that you filmed and just throw it in there?
And that's where that connection again. It's hard to keep like a linear, timeline of all this stuff. Because of him needing somebody to film that one day,
right?
He filmed a bunch of shit all throughout Tampa, and I still have some stuff that I never used from that day.
Oh wow!
One of them, it's like a 3-block line. He kept literally, it's insane. It's like 13 tricks and like 3 blocks long. But he was just like, basically, yeah, you can keep whatever you want. I'm gonna just keep a couple things for Welcome to Hell, and then on that first trip to California, I was 18. I have no idea how, because, like, what was I doing there? But essentially, I ended up at, like, Muska's house, I think. Or it was, I don't know whose house it was, but we were at this house in Pacific Beach.
Okay.
And Jamie and, like Brian Anderson and some of the, the guys from that era.
Yeah.
They were watching, like, some raw footage on Musk. I can't remember if it was Jamie's house or Muska's house, but Muska was there, and they were watching footage, and Jamie was, like, talking about they're about to do a tour to premiere the Welcome to Hell video.
Okay.
And he's like, we need a filmer, do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Wow.
So I ended up on that trip for like, I don't know if it was about a month, but we went from San Diego, all over the country, ended up in Boston. And,
okay.
Did I meet you then at that point?
I don't know if we met that then, but I remember Jamie had a rough cut of Welcome to Hell that we watched.
Right. And did that have was that the one that had Muska's part in it?
Muska's part, yeah.
Yeah. And he wouldn't let me see that the whole trip because of that whole falling out with Muska.
Oh.
And then the end of the last day of the trip is like, all right, I'll let you see his part.
No
wow.
way.
And it was so sick.
Yeah, because we watched it in my house. I don't know if you were in.
Did you live with like Mike Graham
Bell?
and Mike
Bell and Charlie Wilkins and
that's where I
Kyle
stayed.
Boncourt?
Didn't we stay there?
And you stayed at my house, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't even remember you.
Nor does he remember you, Raj.
Dude, we had like so many people there, dude. It was
really?
insane.
Dude, we slept. See, that's why I can never remember. I thought that was Mike Bell's house.
Yeah.
But there was another dude who lived there. I thought it was Mike Graham.
No, Mike Graham would stay there all the time.
Well, we all slept on the floor, and we're sleeping on the floor. It was like, literally like Brian Anderson, Alyssa Steamer, Donnie Barley, Jamie Thomas, you know what I mean?
It was Mike Bell, Kyle Boncourt, Mike Denny, a.k.a. Nike Mikey,
Jesus.
Charlie Wilkins, Jim Sullivan, and myself.
How big was this fucking?
Huge.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was like 5 bedrooms
Damn.
Weird.
and like 3 stories with a roof deck.
Whoa.
Was it? It was
Why you
wood
ever
floors.
Wood floors.
Yeah.
With brick wall.
You were saying everybody was sleeping on the floors, and then
all I remember, I think we only stayed there one night, and we're sleeping on the floor, like just hardwood floors, just like whatever, like
Yeah.
a place to stay. And we woke up, and it was like maybe like 6 a.m. And there's these huge house speakers, like right next to where we were sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And I always remember it being Mike Graham. I don't know, because I just remember him being
could've
like a tough guy. You know what I mean? 6 a.m. That song, the Crooklyn Dodgers album, like the actual single, he put that on the record player and turned it at full blast at 6 a.m. And so the song starts with just a triangle, like ding. It's like ding, ding, ding. So at 6 a.m., all of us are like ding, ding. And I look up, and there's this dude eating cereal on like basically where Kelly is over there, just staring at us eating cereal slowly.
it probably was Raj.
Just staring us all in the eye, and he just let that song play, like the instrumental,
Oh my god.
and he was just basically like telling us all like, fuck you guys for being in my house. It was so weird, but none of us, everybody was like pretending to be asleep. Like, oh yeah,
Wow.
oh, this isn't disturbing me at all. Everybody's like, what the fuck is going on? So weird.
Yeah, Graham didn't even live there. He just stayed there all the time.
Well, I don't.
You obviously didn't want them there, right?
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
That's funny.
So you went on tour. I mean, you didn't have a job or anything at this point either, right?
No,
You just were
no.
just. I mean,
Just
how were
would
you?
do freelance stuff.
But going on this month-long thing, did they give you any cash?
I don't think I got paid to do that.
How were you like surviving? You were just kind of
No idea.
toy machine card, like
I have no idea.
No.
I have a really bad memory, but I wasn't working at the time,
No.
and I know the first time I went out to California, I think it was the same trip, but I went out there. No, the first trip. Jesus Christ.
You're good. No, you trust me.
Because I drove out to California a lot, like multiple times. And the first trip, I just remember my car broke down, and I spent the last bit of money I had to fix it, and then it broke down again, and it was like $700 to fix it, and I got a job working for Tree Fort, which was Troy Morgan's company. Yeah. And so I was filming for the Tree Fort, like Vinny Ponte and Danny Supa Sirarat, or Danny Supa is what he became, but he was still Supa Sirarat.
Baby Costin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jimmy Chadwick and all those dudes. So yeah, that was the first thing. And so I was working for them, went home, came back, and ended up on that Welcome to Hell trip. I have no idea.
Did you finish a Tree Fort video?
I didn't.
Or you were
edit
just
it.
helping
I was
film
just
it.
filming it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just like those random things, making those connections, and then that obviously who is everything. So you just
true.
start getting random things out of those.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Welcome to Hell tour was a success. They liked you. You got to see the Muska part in the video.
Right.
Obviously, Jamie liked you. You proved yourself to him, probably.
I guess so. And he filmed that whole trip. He filmed stuff for my video. So he was doing shit that I'd never seen anybody like grind rails in person. And he was like, every stop, he's the only one who skated the whole trip. When we'd stop at like 7 a.m. I mean, it sounds like an exaggeration, but we're like driving through Colorado, and we passed by like something you can see off the highway. That thing looks like you could ollie that thing, and he'd pull off the highway. Everybody's still asleep in the van, and Jamie and I are out there. There's like still fog in the air and filming, and he let me use almost all of it for my video. Yeah.
Which video was that?
That was Cigar City.
Cigar City.
Yeah.
Did he know that you were filming? I mean,
Yeah, he knew I was working on a video.
Oh, so God, I
But
would have hated that tour
still.
stopping like that. I would just get to the hotel,
Dude,
Jamie.
you can see like in all like a lot of the footage, you see like Alyssa and Brian Anderson and people just sitting on a curb behind, just like,
Come on, dude. Let's get to point B.
yeah.
Well, what tricks did you film in Welcome to Hell of him?
There's like a shopping cart rail. He does like a slappy up 50 across it. It's like
Oh yeah.
he does like a couple gap over. There's like in Tampa. It's like a manual pad. You have to ollie over a handrail.
Oh,
to
yeah.
It does switch 180 manual and a nose manual. And he did some other stuff on that trip. I'm trying to remember, but there's a lot of all that tour stuff. You know what I mean? A lot of the like the demo stuff of those dudes was from that trip. But
Did you film everything in the 4-in-1 industry section?
Yes. Yeah.
they had like a shop thing. And
Yeah.
Leave it to Kelly.
I know.
Now, are you editing? You're starting to edit too. You're editing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, back then, I would rent. There was like a place where you could rent an edit bay, which is literally, just like a machine to machine, and you'd lock in your edit, and it would, do the edit for you or whatever. But it was like, it was still, it wasn't, non-linear editing didn't exist yet. Mm-hmm. And then I can't remember which one it was, but it was like Rising, maybe one of those. I called, that place had gone out of business. I called some place in Orlando, and this guy's like, he's like, do you know what non-linear editing is? And I was like, what? And I think
I need the deck.
Yeah, and he's like, well, and he explained the technology to me, and it was just like
Right.
The fact that you could edit and then go back and change something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, of course, let's do it. And so I think it was an Avid system.
Okay.
At that place, but yeah, there's a technician who's on a computer, and I'm telling him what to do. You know what I mean?
Seriously, you're saying like, no, I need that kick flip over. I need that back and the That.
How long did that take to do? Like,
I had a week.
Really?
I had a week. Yeah. To capture everything, edit it, and then.
That's psycho.
Yeah, and how much was this to rent this?
It was expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea what it was, but it was expensive.
Whoa, dude.
Because I mean, you the technician is dedicated to you the whole time, and
right.
he was like this nerdy guy with like, it looks like he'd never been outside. He's like a computer, and by the end of the first day, he was so into it.
Oh, was he?
So, yeah, he loved it because he's just doing probably the most mundane commercial shit. Yeah, but then I'm teaching him like, oh no, we can't use that one. You know what I mean? His foot's like hanging off.
It's like, what are you talking about? He did that dope.
Yeah, and you're trying to say like land. I want him to land on the beat here and do this and do that. It must suck to have to rely on somebody to do that.
Yeah, but the fact that it was like this whole new thing.
That's true.
It was.
I'm sure you were learning as he was doing it too, though.
Yeah.
Oh, were you paying attention?
Well, no. I mean, no. Still to this day, an Avid system's too expensive for you know what I mean. So there was no I wasn't, but just the process, I guess itself. Capturing all the footage, having it in this folder, and it's just today this is such a common thing, but it was just like mind blowing. You know what I mean? To capture the footage is digital, like he's trying to explain to me this is like digitized, and now you can
manipulate it.
Unbelievable.
You still sound
I know.
like your
Wow.
But it's just like, it's like going from like a caveman to like driving a car, with no evolution in between. Is such a massive,
huge
jump ahead.
And then how old were you?
This is probably 19.
19.
Well, I mean, yes. I just can't remember if it started with Cigar City doing that or not, or I might have. So I was
Crazy,
somewhere in,
dude.
Yeah.
Wow. And then after that, what video was next?
Well, the Rising video, Ed Salego, he was. By the time I was in high school, he moved to Tampa from New Jersey, and he was the only other skater there was actually one other dude. I didn't hang out with him who skated, but at this point. And so
why didn't you hang out with this one other dude? You couldn't make friends with him?
I don't know. I mean, I was friends with him. Yeah, yeah. But we just didn't hang out outside. But Ed was like, it was one of those like, every filmer, there's these relationships. You know what I mean? There's the skater who's right at that, and the filmer, and it's like, oh my God, this dude will do anything. Right. Yeah. And in Ed's early footage, like he's like flipping onto his head, just getting broke, but he was like a beast, and he would just go for it. So it was like this perfect, like, wow, you skate too, and we would go to the library and not go to the lunchroom and just like hang out in the library during high school.
It's a weird place to hang out, but yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, and that was the thing about skateboarding. I feel like that got me stoked from the beginning too, is it's just like the alternative to that like jock culture of having to fit in and do this and that. Right. So after literally the first day in high school, I went to the lunchroom and I was like, it was so terrifying. I never ate lunch again for the rest of So I just would sit in the library, and then eventually Ed moved it, started hanging out at the lunchroom. We had a little like crew, I think I saw like a Pixies like whatever, like sticker or something on his book, or something like that. I was like, hey, and yeah, so Ed and I became kind of like, that Rising video was like him and I going out skating and me filming with him. Wow. And And that video, I think, that video part is what got him like sponsored by Planet Earth, I think, at the time.
Oh yeah.
God, I'm going out of sequence. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
So the third video.
Are you going to get a jump back now?
Right.
What do we?
Right. So the Rising came out,
Yeah.
I think he started getting hooked up by Earth as a result of that.
Okay.
And then I started working on the first Static video. So that was the order of how that went.
Gotcha.
So the Static video was the first like non-Tampa video. You know what I mean? And it was obviously, in retrospect, very influenced by Dan Wolf's Eastern Exposure
There you
series.
go. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same formula of like skaters all up and down the East Coast. I'm sure at a point I tried to argue that I wasn't, this is my own idea.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I remember Dan was in town filming with Paul Zitzer for, he had a skate park at Tampa section in Eastern Exposure 3. And I'm sure that's where, and Zitzer at the time was like, he was like a connection to like what was cool. Like he had the best taste, I feel like, and he and like, I was filming a lot of vert skating with him and Frazier, and Zitzer was like, he's like, oh, you haven't seen the Eastern Exposure videos? You know what I mean? Oh my God, you got it, and he's like telling me about Tim O'Connor and, so like Zitzer and I were doing like, I was filming with him a bunch, basically started talking about doing a similar video, I guess, you know what I mean? And I remember being on a road trip to Miami, and we came up with the name Static on that trip, just as like a random, a name that doesn't really mean necessarily anything, you know what I mean? But it's funny that the Static thing is kind of developed with like a vert skater, you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't think.
Who was in Static 1?
Tampa Am, would cycle through different dudes every year, and that Tampa Am and Tampa Pro were amazing at that point. You know what I mean? Like the dudes that were coming through, you had like
crazy.
Yeah, like all the guys you want to see like would show up, at these contests. But the Am contest was like, there wasn't others in that era. There wasn't like a big contest series going on. That was like, and that was obviously a cool contest. It was run by skaters, whatever. I remember seeing Jacob Rupp come down. I feel like it was one of those first dudes whose just style, his style alone was like captivating to me. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, that dude's so sick. And Sean Mullendore, and both of them are from like the DC, Maryland kind of Beltway area. Okay. And Sean Mullendore's style too. And when Zitzer and I were talking about this, again, it's like I couldn't just like DM one of these dudes, or, you know what I mean? I was like, I don't know how I found out their phone numbers, but I just cold called them. Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, hey, I'm working on this video. Would you be down? And Sean Mullendore is like, yeah, I guess let's do it. Like, it's like, all right.
Whoa.
Yeah. Joel Meinholtz had a part. Forrest Kirby. From me coming out here with Ed riding for Earth and stuff, I ended up on a couple trips coming out here, and Forrest was on one of those trips. We went to Las Vegas or something. And again, just like Forrest, just regardless, he's so likable. He's such a rad dude, and he's so talented, and it was just, at that point I was already formulating this video, and I was like, man, a dude I'd never really heard much of. I think he had a 401 thing. Yeah. I'm gonna turn to you for the 401.
Yeah, the misfortune. Yes.
So yeah, I met him on that trip. Boom, another guy, in the mix. He ended up having the first part in that video.
This is just a test press.
He was the world's biggest Cool Keith fans, and he would know when Cool Keith was going to be on a radio show, so he would put it in blank tape in and record the whole radio show, and then he made mixtapes out of like Cool Keith's like live like freestyles or whatever. And so on these road trips we'd go on, he'd have this amazing Cool Keith mixtape, and there were songs in there that were unreleased so far, and the song called Test Press, which ended up obviously popping up on YouTube or whatever, but he had that on a tape.
That's amazing. Actually,
that's
so sick.
How long did it take you to do Static 1?
Probably about a year and a half, I guess.
Year and a half.
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
it's not that long.
Maybe even less. Like Jake Rupp, his part was literally like one trip. We just went up to DC and drove across the country with like him, and Ed Sligo was on that trip, and Steve Brandy, and like dudes who didn't even have parts, and then Meinholtz was on that as well. He had a part. But yeah, Jake's part was like actually that, and then we did a little trip to Ocean City, Maryland, of all places, which was really weird. Yeah, and he got like several awesome clips on that. But so it might have been a shorter window, maybe about a year.
But again, how are you surviving? How are you paying for all this stuff if you're going on all these trips?
I mean, I did freelance stuff, but like you're like at that point, it's like 411. You'd send them all your footage, and you'd get like 5 clips, and then they pay like $30.
Photos too, though.
Yeah, I was shooting skate photos too. But again, it wasn't very much income on that. And I know that like when I was a little kid, when I was like 7, I got attacked by a dog really badly.
Oh.
Yeah. And so my parents sued the owner of the dog, and we won like $12,000 or $13,000 somewhere around there.
Put that in your little account. Huh?
Well, not at first.
No.
I didn't know this, but they actually put a pool in at our house when I was like 14.
Okay.
And I didn't know that they used that money. They put the pool in.
Our kid got attacked by a dog. Let's get a pool.
Well, they didn't tell me. I literally like years after, I was just like, like, oh, what? Because the point of the money was like, if I ever need plastic surgery when I get older, which I mean, I'm sure it'd probably cost more than like $13,000. But that's what I have, like all the like, they're not as like super obvious unless you're close. But scars all over my face.
I
from
can't
that.
even see him. Yeah.
But
it was a bad attack. What kind of dog was it? Pit bull?
It's called an Akita. It's like a Alaskan Husky.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Dogs.
Yeah, I jumped my neighbor's yard, our fence, because my brother was mowing her yard, and walked around the corner, and just the dog was just looking at me, and I knew that something was going to happen. And then I just woke up.
Wow.
Damn.
And she was like she's like, oh my God, and like carried me and put me in her shower, and she's like, don't look in the mirror. And then she ran to get my parents, and of course I and I don't remember what it looked like, but it was
just fresh meat.
Do you like dogs?
I was
today?
I'm fine with them. I'm fine.
Okay.
I like went to therapy and stuff for like a couple times as a kid, because I was terrified of dogs for a while. But,
I would be too. I got bit by a couple dogs. I hate dogs. Yeah. No, I don't hate dogs.
Don't say that.
I love
That's
dogs.
like
I know.
That's like dissing a religion now. People will like go crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, people. In the comments.
He's a cat.
No.
He's a cat person.
I'm a cat person. I grew up with cats, but no, I do like dogs. But I have gotten bit by dogs.
Yeah.
So your parents bought a pool, and you had a little money left over. So maybe you're using that to get through these trips okay.
Yeah, and working little jobs, like I said, working for Treefort for like 4 months on that trip, and like selling photos and whatever, but credit card stuff. But and the videos, like back then it was like the videos were starting to sell more and more, and so I was always like, man, the next one. I'd tell my parents, you're gonna do another one. They always expected me to, like, I was gonna go to film school, you know what I mean, transition to something more lucrative. Yeah.
But that was your film school, pretty much.
Yeah. But it never moved on.
Right. But how did you sell Static 1?
That one's interesting because I was in the middle of working on that. Somebody, I won't tell specifics essentially, but somebody's sponsor, there was a guy who worked there who was telling me, who said he wanted to help us distribute it and or help me distribute it. And he's like, what would you consider, this is a weird story, so I'll follow it through and then we'll decide if we want to. He's like, how many videos would you consider a success? And I was like, I don't know, like 10,000? I'd be stoked. He's like, all right, we're buying 10,000 off of you and we're going to distribute them. I was like,
wow.
What? All right, let's do it. Like, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And is the video done at this point?
No,
or is it?
No, it's almost done. And he's like, we'll make some, you want to make some posters too? I was like, yeah, let's make posters. And sent me their logo, put it on the posters. Mm-hmm. And then right when I finished the video, premiered it in Tampa, he stopped taking my phone calls.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And called the office and I was like, hey, I've been trying to get in, so what's up? And they're like, oh, he doesn't work here anymore. I'm like, what?
Damn.
And I was like, well, this is what's going on. They're like, he didn't have permission to do that. What are you talking about?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, and so I'm like, I'm not lying. I didn't make this up. And she's like, well, I don't have any proof. And I was like, I have 2,000 posters here with your logo. I don't think I could have done that without. And so she agreed to pay that lady she agreed to pay for the posters. But I was like, had a video finished and no distribution. So I flew out to San Diego and went to the ASR show.
Okay.
And didn't have appointments with anybody. I remember Shimry was like running like 4-on-1 and Giant, and I went to the booth, and I had a good relationship with her through contributing footage to 4-on-1 for years. And she's like, I can't get you an appointment. You know, like everybody here, like that's when ASR was like this huge thing. There's like 3-story booths and shit.
Oh, they had to pencil you in.
Yeah. And so I didn't get to talk to anybody. I didn't get any kind of like meetings. I remember meeting like Paul Shire was there for Blueprint, like way back, and I remember having a conversation with him.
Probably couldn't understand him.
It took 3 weeks to figure it out.
It took a month to figure out what he was saying.
Every time I'm on the phone with him, I'm like, Paul, I'm sorry.
Just
seriously, can you say that for the 5th time?
Yeah.
Just
amazing dude. Love Paul.
But yeah, so on that trip, Jeff Taylor, I was hanging out because I was, again, through Ed Salego and Forrest now. I was friends with those guys, and Jeff's like, hey, we're thinking about, we have Audio had started at that point. And he's like, we need somebody to do the video. So I was there to try to get Static distributed, and Jeff, I was like, yeah, for sure, you know, and didn't really take it too seriously. At that point, I just didn't think like, I didn't have like the credentials to be making a, you know, something, and it's terrified me because to do up to that point, I did everything by myself because I'm the only one who would see my mistakes. You know what I mean?
There you go.
So I have a heavy fear of being what's the word? Incompetent, you know, showing up for a job or showing up for something and not
pull it off.
Yeah. So
by the way, I'm sorry, what did you use to edit Static 1?
Oh, that's a good question.
Thank you, bro. That's what I'm here for, you know? Once in a while, I have a good one.
That was nonlinear editing became accessible to consumers essentially around that era. And as pretty much any kind of purchase I made as a kid, learning how to make videos, I would just buy a video magazine. I don't know, Video Maker or what they were called. And at the back, there's all these companies. And, you know, like when I was like 15, I'd buy like the thing you plug, you know, you can plug all your RCA cables in and you can make really ghetto titles, you know?
Okay.
Or audio controls.
Yeah.
And so I saw the Final Cut Pro had come out in its first edition. But you had to buy, it was a whole dedicated system. You bought a Mac Pro tower, and
how much was this? I mean,
I can't remember. I can't
$5
remember.
grand back then, maybe.
Probably more.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably be the
Did your
thing.
parents sell the pool, or how did they? How did you get money for this?
No, we sold the house. We moved to a different house, but
wow.
Yeah, and then not having I never read an instruction manual or anything like that.
Just
so it's
figured
just
it
like
out hands-on.
and that whole time it's like everything like there were in the 90s, especially in the early 2000s, there were no other people in Florida, or you know, I didn't have any like there was nobody else in that doing what I was doing.
Nobody
essentially.
to show you.
And I'm not saying there's nobody else doing what I was doing, but just like it's just weird that there's nobody to confer with. So everything I was doing, I was just making mistake after mistake, learning because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Like same thing with skate photography. I have no idea what I was doing. And you're shooting film, so that's obviously expensive as well. So just trying to figure out how, you know what I mean? Anyway, so and eventually like there'd be people like I would call like for photography, one of the few times I came out here, I went by Transworld and Swift was super like generous with his time, would be like, help me, give me pointers. He'd look at my photos and be like, okay, what you're definitely, you know, you need to figure this out. And then they'd tell me like this, there's all these little secrets, especially in photography.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're like, what? You mean, you know, I'm trying to think of one of the things he
used the peanut for the flash.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's always been people like that too, where it's like, I was like basically on this desert island kind of, and somebody in these, you know, reaching out to different dudes would give like I said, Reggie Barnes, or like giving me like tips on how selling things works, and Jeff Kendall at NHS. Like these are again all people I just somehow, I don't know where I got these phone numbers.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I'm sure this stuff must have been in magazines, and back then you could just call.
That's true. Yeah.
But Jeff Kendall is another dude who's super nice.
Pages.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And just like schooled me on like, you know, price structure, you know, and how a video, you know, if you sell it to a shop for this much, it's going to retail for that much.
Right.
But essentially like I think with Static One, which is how this initial question started.
Yeah, no.
It was like, didn't work out at the trade show. So I just cold called a bunch of distributors, and a bunch of distributors ended up carrying the video.
Wow. How many did you end up selling? Do you know?
I used to know.
More importantly, how much did you make off of that video?
I think that one did it was like somewhere between 6,000 and 7,500 copies of that. It was VHS.
That's great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I was stoked.
Let's do the math real quick. 7,000. I don't know. I'm bad at math.
I know enough that it never, those videos never turned a profit.
No.
You know what I mean? Like the amount of like money traveling and
Okay.
obviously.
Did that bum you out though? Or was it just that it was out there and people could see it now?
I bet you had a good time doing it.
Yeah,
Right?
No,
I mean,
for
all
sure.
of the above, right?
Yeah. It was never, I would have been stoked to have made a profit.
Yeah.
But that was never obviously the goal. I was like, I think any guy especially like all the kids who make videos nowadays, the main thing is just for people to see it.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was always, like I said, like Cigar City, and like to talk to a kid in Germany who like, that was
amazing.
the one video I had as a kid. And you're like, how the hell did that happen?
It's like turning pro and seeing somebody with your board or something.
Right.
You know?
Right. Just having reach. And at that era, that was the biggest obstacle was distribution,
Right.
was reaching other people. Now that everybody has that. It's just sticking out, So, and I've said that in the past multiple times where it's like, I had the good fortune of being like early, on the scene early as like an indie video maker guy where there was nothing else except for like, I think Tim Dowling did the Listen video, probably
Great
late 2000 or late 90s.
Great video.
Glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. You were, no, we listen video, whatever. But, yeah, you were one of few, right?
Right. And which is a struggle, but it's also a huge
Benefit.
after the fact, you know what I mean? It's like a huge benefit because it's nowadays, how the hell does any kid who's trying to, stand out?
I know.
Or make a living doing that.
I mean, very few people make a living
in skateboarding.
Yeah.
So Static One comes out. It's a good thing. 7,000 copies or whatever, somewhere close to that. And then, but in the meantime, are you still talking to Jeff Taylor for working for Adio?
Yeah. So I'm still helping, like trying to distribute that.
Okay.
I flew out for a meeting, and I can't remember because Adio, when it first started, it was crazy. Their lineup was crazy. It was like
Steve Barra,
Jamie Thomas, Jeremy Ray, Tony Hawk, and all those dudes. And Ed Slega was in that mix early on.
Was Forrest Kirby in that mix too?
No, not yet.
Later.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, I came out for a meeting, and just the whole time, I just remember and I don't think Steve Barra I think he had just left.
Oh.
Audio, but I just like it was literally like a big table, like you would
Like a
picture
boardroom.
in a boardroom,
Yeah.
and like all the team and Jeff and
What did you do? You have to give a presentation, or what is
remember.
this?
I can't remember.
Did you have to
I just
stand up
remember
on
discussing.
with the thing and with the pointer? Like we're gonna do this. This is gonna be. We're gonna use this angle.
I seriously felt like I was like an 11-year-old or 12-year-old. I felt so like a little, like a little kid in a overfitting suit. Like, hey, I'm and I felt like that's how everybody was seeing me. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, I don't think Tony Hawk was there.
No.
I don't think. but just like that, and I know, I felt, and I could have just been projecting this myself, but I felt that a lot of these like established dudes like Jeremy Ray and stuff, I felt that there was like they really were like, who the fuck is this dude?
Really?
Yeah, and because Audio was a big thing at that point, and so I was just like terrified of how I was gonna do this, how to make, because I was always, I felt confident in like I can film, I can edit, but there's a lot more to a video, and I knew the packaging as far as like motion graphics and the polishing is so important. That's the biggest, almost the biggest part. If you have that, not the biggest part, but if you have all those elements, it really helps. Even if it's a shitty project, if you have nice packaging.
Yeah.
Well, luckily they had Jose Gomez.
Right.
So they hired you.
Yeah.
And you started filming with all the dudes.
Yeah. So I was like,
Kenny Anderson, was he on the?
Yeah.
Kickflip nose wheelie from Vegas to LA? Was it at Vegas to LA or LA to Vegas?
Vegas to LA. It was.
Did he really do that?
I'm
The
not.
kids
I
wanna
signed a
know.
contract.
The kids
I
want to
wasn't
know.
allowed
No,
to
you
say.
can't talk. Oh.
Yeah, it's an NDA, but
Oh man.
He knows Willie back too
Did he nose really
for
back?
conversing. Yeah,
Oh yeah, he did. That was fake.
you saw the behind the scenes.
Yeah. No, but I mean that must have been a crazy, right? You going from the Static One video to now this
Right.
huge brand with these big riders.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure.
And if you look at go back and look at Static One, and it's like a pretty in my opinion, a pretty ghetto operation.
Right.
And consider somebody was like, oh yeah, we're gonna hire this kid to do, this big company video.
But, I mean, it's an honor too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was Raj there at that point too?
Not yet.
I came a little later.
You came a little later.
Yeah.
That must have been
But,
difficult.
a year.
I mean that. Yeah.
How did that happen? How did Roger get involved in this?
I ended up in Miami with Will Harmon, and then you're like, hey, you want to help film? And then
Who? He Jeff Taylor or
no, I already knew Kenny from Converse and whatever else, and we just naturally hung out with everyone. And I just basically got second angle for Josh the entire time.
Was that was on that Miami
Yeah, and then
apartment?
I went down there with Will Harmon. Originally, was only going to spend a week there. I ended up being there for a month. Will left pissed off at me. Sorry, Will.
Why? Because you were filming all the other guys?
No, because I drove down there with him,
Oh.
and then he had to drive home by himself.
Oh yeah.
But Felix was like, hey, we're going to go to Ecuador. You want to come with us? And I just jumped on an Ecuador trip.
From Miami.
Yeah, from Miami.
Oh, wow.
And then flew home. And then Jeff Taylor had called me up like, hey, dude, I heard you kind of killed it down there. Like, you want to come shoot Bam and these guys in Philly for a week and a half or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, when are you looking to go? He's like, tomorrow. Then took a flight the next day, went down there, and was in Philly for a week and a half. After that, flew home. Jeff got back home, called me. He's like, so would you be interested in coming to California? I'm like, yeah. He's like, when can you come? I'm like, when do you need me? He goes, you down to get on a flight tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Jesus Christ.
And I just basically left Boston and just went straight to California, one-way ticket.
You were like, I didn't know you went and filmed Bam that early on.
Oh, yeah.
Because he kind of became kind of like the Bam connection almost. Like
Yeah.
I think he got along well with Bam. And,
Yeah.
But
I lived with his parents for 5 years.
You
Yeah,
didn't feel threatened by Raj though.
No, not at the beginning. No, no. I didn't mean
I was there to help Josh.
No.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I'd always done everything by myself.
Yeah.
So at first, you're like, I'm assuming at first I was kind of like what's going on, and then you realize, holy, there's somebody else helping this
Thank
massive
God.
thing. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And he was like, literally when we were editing right before the premiere, he was in LA with Jeremy Ray, filming the triple set again, with permits and stuff, and calling, did we get it? Did he get the 360 down the,
Yeah. Well, that must have been an interesting video because they had a different variety of skateboarders. You had Kenny Anderson, and you had Bam, and then Brian Sumner. You had Richie Belton and all these young kids.
Tony Hawk.
Yeah. Then
Shaun
White.
Danny Montoya.
Danny Montoya.
It was stacked.
Big.
Also, at the same time, we're doing Foreign Friends.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So we're doing 2 videos at the same time.
Yeah, that was a sick
And
video,
Joe
too.
Kralik was editing that one.
Yeah.
I was supposed to do it, and it was just obviously, there's no
way
way.
in hell, yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, look at that. Even then, that mixture of personalities and was as epic as it sounds now. It wasn't they're a bunch of nobodies, you know what I mean, who were just trying to prove themselves, you know. And Jeremy Ray, he was just coming back from his knee injury, which was to me, out of that whole mix, when I was going into it, I was a huge Jeremy Ray fan as a kid. So going into it, he was I was really, looking forward to that, but also really nervous about it, working with him and seeing the stress he was going through of trying to
He was also having board drama.
he's very particular,
Yeah.
very specific about everything, but it was just that was, it's tough because he knows what he's capable of. I know what he's capable of, but he doesn't know what his knee's capable of. You know what I mean? So you'd go to do things and I didn't want to, I'm not the kind of filmer who puts pressure on somebody. I like to think that that's the case.
Right.
But I felt like I represented for him the pressure of Adio expecting something out of him. So I always felt like he's this dude that I was I looked up to and I was stoked to film with him. But I felt like he was like, when I'd show up, it's like I'm the stressor. You know what I mean? I'm the one causing the stress.
Right.
Like,
You're the
fuck,
trigger.
man, I don't want to be this guy. And I felt like, as far as saying like, did I feel threatened by Roger? I didn't feel threatened by him, but I feel like at a certain point, I felt jealous because, I mean, literally, I felt because he had a good friendship with everybody, and I felt like I represented. You know, me and Jeff Taylor were like
dark men.
Yeah, we're like,
Okay.
this has to get. You know, we have to get this done, and
Right.
he was more. You know, like.
But they need that though. They
Yeah,
need a person
yeah.
like that.
But it's good.
Remember the schedule?
Oh yeah.
What are you guys? you have
Jeff
a
put everyone on
schedule?
like a filming schedule.
Oh really?
It's like, all right,
Wow.
Mondays and Fridays you have Roger.
Oh wow.
But there were spots. There were spots on those schedules.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a calendar with like triple set, like
No
written
way.
on.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
stuff like that.
How many times do you guys go to
It was
the
no-
audio gap? You know, the famous audio.
Everybody made a trip to the audio.
That was my
gap.
the first night in California I went there.
I heard an interview with Nate Broussard. He said we picked. I don't remember any of this, but he said we picked him up from his flight from Houston and took him from the airport to the audio gap. Literally.
Is that when he dolly back 180 did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn,
Wow.
that's sick.
It's a big gap.
It's just a drop.
Yeah.
It's just like just jumping off a building.
Wow.
But I mean, that was like
so-
that video. You're getting. They got permits for spots. You know what I mean?
We
Danny
faked
Montoya.
permits for them.
Dude.
Oh, yeah?
That
Oh.
is fucked up.
Toya's Nolly Heel front nose on the Long Beach courthouse rail.
Oh yeah.
We got a legit permit for that. We had a cop there, everything.
Oh,
Because he kept going, and
Yeah.
it was like gated off too.
Oh yeah,
Or
we
not
had,
gated-
we had it fully gated off.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah, totally.
One trick. How much was that permit? Do you remember?
I think it
I
was
don't think it was
close.
that much.
I thought it was like $3,000.
Yeah,
Which is, I mean, it's not a
it's
lot.
a lot for a single trick. Yeah.
Right.
Fuck yeah.
It's his last
Right.
trick though. That
Yeah.
shit was amazing.
Yeah.
So we had the paperwork, and the dude Curtis, he basically scanned the permit and then reworded everything so it would be the triple set. Jeff was trying to get a legit permit for the triple set,
Right.
and time was running out, and like we couldn't get a permit in time, and like deadline was coming up. So Jeff basically told people the triple set, like, all right, we got a permit, everything's good, and just handed them this fake
Doctor
permit. Doctor
paper,
permit.
right.
They
you
like
believe
just
that?
changed like,
And they,
you know-
they bought it.
oh yeah, totally.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. But it was funny because remember there was like one of the security guys like, shouldn't you guys have a cop here or whatever? Like, oh, he's on his way. Yeah.
Anybody never got the trick down the with that fake? He was
No,
trying.
Jeremy showed up late.
Oh, he did.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
You had to, like, you have to have a permit with the property owner and a permit with the city.
Yeah.
So Jeff got the permit with
property.
with the property, but he faked the city permit.
Gotcha. Okay.
And thank God I was editing at this point because I would.
Did you
that
know
kinda-
at the time that he was doing all that?
I have no.
Because he told us
again, I
after the
can't
video was
remember.
done.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I just thankfully I wasn't there because I would have been
Right.
terrified.
well, it's better that you didn't know.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Because now
Yeah.
you're thinking, yeah, this is good.
This is legit. It's all legit, yeah.
We're gonna make some phone calls. I don't know.
Yeah. Talk to that
Yeah.
guy over there.
Yeah. So when you were editing and doing all this stuff, and the video was kind of coming together, you felt more confident. Like this is good. And
Every video I've ever done, let's say from Static and onward, there's like having some other person whose talents I can rely on, and I know it's not just me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so Static, a friend of mine named Andre Stringer in Washington D.C. He did a very simple motion graphic intro for it.
Okay.
And the little name titles. So when we were starting the audio video, I was like, you know, he became this like, okay, I know I can count on him to balance, because that's one thing I couldn't do. So
Right.
going into the audio video, I was like, we got to use this guy for the graphics. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That the video should have like, you know, because audio, Jose Gomez, who was the designer for audio, the ad layouts he was doing were very like tech kind of influenced. And they didn't want to, they were like, oh, well, that's, you know, we're not really interested. Basically, you know, they didn't see the need for it.
Oh.
And then as it got closer, Andre sent me his reel and I showed it to Jose, and they're like, he was really fucking good. So they're like, okay, we'll have a meeting. Let's fly him out. And they met him, and the story's crazy. He came in, he taught Jose Gomez, who had never done motion graphics. He taught him all his like tricks with After Effects of how everything works. And then Jose took a week off from work and sat at home, literally, and did that entire audio video intro, which is like fucked up. It's
Wow.
fucked up. Yeah. So he that was his first. It was like it wasn't like he had like years of trial and error. He just sat down in 1 week, made that intro, and he'd come over. We lived across the street from each other, so he'd come over, and I'd give him like a still frame of something, and then he'd take it over and animate it and break it into pieces. And then when he first showed me the first couple things he was doing, it was like, I was like, okay, thank God. Okay, this side of the video, because just to have a good, I feel like good skating, decent editing or whatever, music is one thing, but when you have the whole package, I feel like, okay. And then right at that, leading up to that, I just remembered this, but the Minik Mahdi video released somewhere within that a few month period. And I was like, most like career filmers, I guess, whatever you want to call it, at that time had a good relationship with 411. It was like the one place you just knew you could always sell footage, and they would do projects for him here or there. So Chris Ortiz, who was kind of like the director of operations or whatever, he's like, hey, I want to take you to dinner. And I was like, all right, whatever. But it was like, I want to talk to you about something. I want to take you to dinner. So like drove up one night, and this is while I'm in like
Where Ortiz want to go to dinner?
like 3/4 of the way finishing the video, and he had like, I can't remember who it was like 5 411 people, and it was like an intervention. And he's like, we just want to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. He's like, did you see the Minik Mahdi video? And I was like, yeah. He's like, that's what you're competing against. He was like, they were concerned because this video come out, and he's like that thing is fucked up good.
It's great.
Like this audio video, do you have your ducks in a row? It was like it was so strange, but it was like they were concerned for me.
Yeah.
It's one of these strange things I remember, and I was like, this is like strange. I was like, don't worry, I think we got it. Like at that point, thankfully, I felt confident in knowing that we had a good team. You know what I mean? Like Roger and myself filming, and like Jose and Andre as his like consultant. Okay. And then Andre and Jose they started working together, pitching like
they started a company together.
Yeah.
Oh,
a
design. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And it like
blew the fuck up.
Yeah, it became huge. It became one of the biggest like motion graphics houses in the world. They had like 4 offices in different countries. Yeah. They did all the like MTV Open intros. Like
they won like multiple like awards, like Emmys, Oscars, everything.
Was Jose Gomez dude? Yeah. Really? Raj, you should have gone with him.
I know. Wrong direction.
Stuck close.
Yeah.
And I should have got a finder's fee for putting them together.
Yeah. There you go.
Because they didn't want to meet Andre, but then now they're all millionaires.
Damn.
Still.
So they had an intervention with you.
They were concerned.
I wonder why.
I don't know. I really don't know. It's so strange.
It's very strange.
Yeah. Because they
weren't distributing it, right?
No. But
maybe they were feeling you out for some 411 work or something. Maybe I don't know.
I don't think so. No. It was because I never got like a dinner invitation.
Where'd you go? What restaurant? Maybe I could. Was it a good, nice restaurant, or was it just a kind of a shit?
I think it was like a Red Robin.
Red Robin. Oh, White Russians at Red Robin.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
The audio video comes out, and it's a great video. Who had the last part in that? Was it Jeremy Ray?
Yeah. Jeremy had the last part.
A little before my time on audio, but
you came on right after that.
I came on right after. Yeah, pretty much. I think so.
Kenny begged you, didn't he?
He begged. He was down on his hands and knees begging me to come on audio.
So that was like the beginning of the end. That's where it all started.
That's where it went downhill. Yeah.
One hammock ad.
Pretty much,
Jumping the shark with that hammock ad.
No, but so audio, that was great, and then did you go on to try to do Static 2 after that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you're constantly. It's like always the last video. This is definitely the last one. I can't do this again.
Yeah.
And then like the audio thing was it was like Tony Hawk filming with Tony Hawk, and then I didn't shoot the mega ramp thing. I was there. I thought I was going to shoot it, and I showed up, and there's like
900 films.
Yeah, he had his own film production company. Yeah. But the that was it was a stressful production, but such a big production. And to me, I felt like my kind of like niche or whatever you want to call it was like street skating, kind of like underground kind of, I think people might pigeonhole it towards like East Coast, but I didn't, it wasn't ever like this, only East Coast. It was just like a certain kind of like underground street skating
Yeah,
kind of
you were
vibe.
just trying to find the rad dudes.
Yeah.
right?
Cellar doors and handicap pumps.
Right. We're just finding people who like nobody really hadn't gotten the shine that they deserved, essentially. You know what I mean? So it didn't matter if they lived in New York or Phoenix or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just somebody like, so that video was, the audio video was such like on such a different level. I was like anxious to get back and do something different. And so it was like, do I do another video or do I do a static 2? And it was like, so that was.
And then you want to just call it Static 2 to keep the theme going? You didn't want to come up with a different name, or did you think about maybe coming up with a different name?
I think that was the Static 1 video. It was like.
Did you call it Static 1 or was it just Static?
It was just Static.
Okay.
There was never meant to be a second one. But after the audio video, the first video, it got like, you know, as anybody does, you know, in any kind of field, that you have that, you do a bunch of different stuff and then something seems to like strike a chord with people. And the Static thing seemed to strike a chord. And so after the audio video, it seemed, it was such the antithesis essentially of the Static thing that I was anxious to get back and like, you know, continue that, you know, that whatever you want to call it. But, and so that one's kind of like, it was kind of like the extreme where it's like going from a lot of like lesser known dudes, and then Static 2 is like Bobby Puglio and Ricky Oyola, which I would consider kind of like the anchors of that kind of like that world, whether you want to call it East Coast skateboarding or underground or whatever, you know.
John Ige.
And John Ige.
John Ige is tight.
Yeah. He was so slept on at that point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
well, that part was really fucking good,
it was
dude.
gnarly. It never got really appreciated, I feel like, until recently.
Recently. People started reposting it recently, the switch inward heel over the block.
But I keep seeing, there's somebody does like an aesthetics Instagram account too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that shit gets reposted a lot, but yeah, there's just dudes all like up the East Coast. Every video I'd end up in some other city that I, you know, like Washington, D.C. for the Rising video actually. And you see there's this amazing scene that was not being seen outside of Washington, D.C. You know, John Ige was just one of many dudes, you know what I mean? And just being like it's like discovering like a lost civilization to me. You know, it's like, holy shit, I want to have the privilege of being able to introduce this to people, and I want people to see it the way I see it, because there could be countless other people could tell the story differently, but to me, you know, Washington D.C. had this like awesome, like dark, like creepy vibe to it, and I wanted to be able to like present it in that way or whatever, you know. So, that's kind of, I don't know where I'm going with that, but essentially.
Well, how did you get Ricky Iola to sign up for this video? Did you know him, or did you cold call him? I can't imagine cold calling Ricky Iola, but
I know. We knew each other just from me being up there occasionally, and but you know, he was still like, in my opinion, kind of up here, and I was kind of like you know, so I don't know what I remember being in like a pizza shop with him randomly.
Bertucci's?
I'm not sure. It's the one that's underground, kind of on South Street, and I remember him. He was basically having like a meeting with Josh Kalis, and again I was like a fly on the wall. Somehow I was with Ricky. This is before Static 2, way before it. He was negotiating with Josh about his like this unspoken thing between him and Stevie Williams, because you know, Ricky was the face of, not only he was the face of East Coast skateboarding in general, you know what I mean,
right,
in my opinion, but he was specifically the face of Philadelphia,
right.
And at that point, Josh and Stevie had kind of established this Love Park presence. And I just remember, again, like my memory's terrible. I specifically remember him talking to Josh, and it was like this negotiation. He's like, look, you know, like if we have to fight, we're going to have to fight. I don't want it to come to that. You know what I mean? It was literally this. And Josh was like, Josh is trying to be the mediator between the two, you know? And he's like, it's not like that, but you know, that's just one of those strange memories, you know, but,
like who's the mayor of Philadelphia?
Right. It was like changing, you know what I mean? It was, because there was so much attention, especially after that, obviously on Stevie and Josh. But yeah, what an interesting meeting in this pizza place.
Wow. But I mean, like, was Ricky Iola at that time too? Was he getting older at that time, or
was he on New Deal then?
Yeah, he was probably still on New Deal at that point, I would think.
7-year glitch.
I don't know though. That's like 2003, 2004.
That came out before.
Well, this is because this is 99 probably. This is like when I was up there working on Static 1 before he was doing a part. I just don't know how I ended up with him.
It's crazy.
Because I still feel like I didn't really know him that well when I asked him about the Static 2 thing. And he didn't want to, he didn't, his Static 2, we just were like, let's just film. You know what I mean? Like, and he was like, if I'm going to do this, he had just started Traffic. He's like, I want like my 3 guys who ride for Traffic to be in my part with me. Kind of like, if we get enough stuff, or if he gets enough stuff, you know, maybe. And he didn't like his footage. He's like, I don't want to have a part, you know. And I was like, dude, I'm not gonna not have, you know, a part with you in the video after we, you know, went on a couple trips. But he didn't think it was up to par. And that, you know, to this day, you know, half the people tell me that's their favorite part in the video.
Right.
But to him, it wasn't.
He almost pulled the plug, huh?
He just was like, you know, you do what you want to do, but I don't think I should have a part.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. He left it up to you.
Yeah.
He had Bobby Puglio in there too.
Bobby Puglio. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You just hit him up. Did you know him pretty well at that point? Or?
No.
Oh wow.
He was like I would say he's pretty like off the radar at that point. I think he rode for Enjoy. Mm-hmm. So he was like, but he wasn't like, I had never even talked to him. And we were doing one of the first road trips for Static 2, and this photographer, Frankie, they called him Bad Frankie, but his name's Frankie Brodsky. He was on the trip with us, and he's like, you should do something with Bobby Puglio. And I was like, well, does he? And I literally, I'm not saying that that's what everybody else thought, but at that point I was like, does he still skate? Like, I didn't know. I'm down in Florida. He's like, yeah, dude, I shoot with him all the time. I'm like, really? And he's like, I think I should try to get him on this trip. It's like, yeah, sure, that'd be sick. And he somehow like called Bob. Bob was interested, just to get out of New York in the wintertime. Oh. And he, on Joy, maybe flew him on down to Atlanta to get on our trip. And he was on his randomly ended up on this road trip cross country, which didn't make sense for Bobby Puglio to be like in a van driving like through Phoenix and like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I mean, we found some spots that he worked for him.
Yeah. No cellar doors out there. You know?
There's not too many cellar doors. No. But yeah, eventually it just like, from that trip, he got a lot of stuff. Yeah.
That part is sick, dude. Yeah. I really like that part. Yeah. You always have good choice of songs too, I gotta say.
Thanks.
Yeah, all the videos got,
He picked his song for that one.
Really?
Yeah.
That was good.
I wish I could say I did, but he tried to change it at the last minute.
After it was edited.
Yeah. He tried to pull his part at the last minute too.
Oh, he started to pull it, the whole part.
Why
are people trying to pull these? What are they doing, huh?
Want to put it out on his own.
Oh yeah, on iTunes.
Yeah.
Maybe he saw the video and he's like, I don't know if I want to. You know, he's just very careful and very about what he's going to be a part of. Yeah. And he was just like right on the edge, on the edge. But I was like, dude, there was no way I was gonna. It became in retrospect of like whatever. It's almost 20 years since the first Static video.
Crazy.
I feel like his part kind of if you were trying to say summarize what's the Static thing, tell me, and I'm like, all right, I'll give you Bobby Puglio's part. And I feel like that can kind of give you the feeling of like the feeling that you're trying to go for, the look, and then the type of skating and whatever, you know what I mean?
Okay. Distribution. Now, are you trying to distribute it again? Like, did you have somebody
for the video
for Static 2?
I think it was the same thing. I think I just
shopped it around.
I just shopped it around, hit up all the same distributors as I had before. I had like a few different international distributors I'd worked with. Again, I don't know how, because like email was still pretty new at that point. Mm-hmm. I have no idea.
You don't remember do you remember how many videos you sold?
Oh, I had, like I said, I had this worked out. I had this incremental growth.
Right.
Static 2 was probably around 10,000 copies.
10,000. Yeah. So you're going up.
Yeah, going up. And video sales were going up. I mean, there was like, at that point of like, let's say a Habitat video or something like that. It's like, you just know it's going to sell 30,000. That was like the standard like,
30,000.
A bigger name company, good, like a real video, full length. It's going to at least sell 30,000.
Okay.
People had distribution deals with like companies that sold to, or a company that sold to like Best Buy and places like that. But for me, it was always tricky because I never had the music rights all worked out. So, but yeah, 10th. I was happy. I was happy with that. And if I really break it down, I still at that point there wasn't a profit.
No profit
on top of that. I mean, I wasn't like keeping books. You know what I mean? I wasn't like have the
you didn't have QuickBooks?
Yeah, there's no way. You know, when I calculate what the profit would be, how much it costs to duplicate a video, and then the leftover balance of
but wait a minute, you're giving them. You're saying, okay, here's my video, right? And they're saying, oh, thanks. Now we're going to go sell these 10,000 copies. What? I don't understand why there's no profit there.
Well, because we went on like road trips.
Are you giving this distribution your receipts and stuff, and they're reimbursing you?
No.
Or how?
No, I just funded the whole thing on my own.
Of his own pocket.
Yeah. And then at the end of it, you have
they give you, here's 10 grand, and you're like, oh fuck, I spent 10 grand.
Right.
Oh, gotcha. Right. Okay. I'm just looking out for you, man. I thought maybe they were trying to rip you off or something.
No, I'm ripping myself off. But it's
for the culture, man.
But
for the culture.
At least you're making your money back, right? Isn't that the plan?
Yeah, you make some of it back.
Yeah,
But if you were like, I just never did anything like I was not organized in the way I did it.
Right,
it was just everyone, which again, I'm sure most dudes making videos, you're not like, I don't think it would be smart to do that trip. It's going to push us over the,
Yeah.
I have no idea how much I spent on the fucking video.
Go for it, right.
And then at the end, every year, you meet with your tax guy, and I just have this box of receipts from like Barcelona and London, and I'm like, can I write this off? And he's like, did you keep gas mileage receipts? I'm like, no, or whatever, track your gas. I have no idea. Just a mess every time. But
did you ever learn by 3 or 4 or 5? Did you ever learn to keep track of everything?
Probably not until the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we had the business, like, we had our distribution company going at that point. So.
Okay, so you had everything in line. Right.
Are we still only at 2?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're going to get there. No, we're going to get there, bro.
Okay.
We're going to get there. But I want to go back really quick to the audio video, One Step Beyond. Because you guys had to change the music, right, for Best Buy or whatever, the mainstream distribution.
The box stores.
Whatever, big box stores.
Well, that video, like the audio video, released right when DVD became like pretty much you had to make a DVD too.
Okay.
So we did the VHS, premiered VHS, and then it's like distribution with like there was I can't remember which company that was. Redline, that's right. And so they distribute to Best Buy and these big chains, and you have to have all your music cleared. And
so you didn't have music cleared with audio? No.
I think up to that point, most people were still punking it.
Okay.
Yeah, we barged all the original ones.
We had to re-edit the entire video with all different music.
Damn.
There's like a couple things I fought. It was like we have to have like Tony's Radiohead song. There's certain things where I was like, I don't know why specifically that one, but that was one I fought for. So I'm sure they had to pay a lot for that. But yeah, most of the stuff, it was like Jesse Fritsch. I would like literally, him and his friend made music together.
Oh.
And we would like, hey, I would send them a song. Can you make something that sounds just like this? And they would make a fucking
No
song.
way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But now you're not just dropping a new track over. You're actually re-editing the people's parts.
Yeah. You can just, like.
You shift it a little bit.
Yeah, but still, dude, what a fucking ordeal.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Wow.
It was a nightmare. And it's such a bummer because the thing that lasted, obviously, is the DVD, which, there's like Ed's Lego and his like Yellow Man song was so crucial to like what made, to his part. And then to see some random, but.
So you weren't happy with the re-release or whatever?
Definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. Especially, like I said, in hindsight, because the VHS version didn't really survive the test of time.
Right.
But they sold a shit ton at Best Buy.
How many copies did we sell?
I was talking about it with Roger. I remember the last I heard, it was like a little over 80,000 copies.
Wow.
Copies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember Jeff saying, like, we broke 100.
Yeah, it was a different time.
Wow.
Sure. That was like the height of video sales.
Jeez.
But
did you think like maybe with Static 2 you could like hopefully maybe
just ride that way?
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like at that point it's like fuck, there's like sky's the limit with these things. So Static 2, I was like, well, if it's just me, I can probably,
So and then so after Static 3, are you chilling more, or you just jump right into Static 4? Or is there any more gigs?
Well, we
that
didn't
you're
talk
doing,
about
or?
Static 3. We talked about Static 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We can skip ahead.
Let's go to Static. Let's just talk about Static 6, the new one. Right. No, I'm sorry, but Static 2, and then did you just jump right into number 3?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always doing other things. Like here, like at that time, it was a lot of like 4-on-1 kind of stuff or whatever, but like other projects. But that was I think what happens is you're like confident that's the last video, and then you do a few different premieres, and the energy, that feeling of like seeing people react or feeling people react to it in the theater specifically, which not a lot of people get to have that experience, or filmmakers get to have that experience, and you're just like, it's like a drug where you're just like, oh man, I gotta do this again.
Well, because that's kind of the only, there's no Instagram, there's no you don't have that like where you could like get that feedback from people, right? You could at the premiere or in the streets.
Well,
right?
that was a cool thing. I was gonna say about the audio video. It doesn't happen anymore, but like going back to school the next day, I went to the premiere, I was like, dude, you don't even know what Danny Montoya did down the fucking 7-stair rail. Like, now you're like, you just see it immediately.
Right.
And back then it was just like, and people would just talk about it, it'd go down the line, and then you would wait, and then you'd see it, and you'd be so happy. Now it's just, you don't have that annemore.
No.
And you watch it over and over again.
So did you feel like, oh, maybe I got something here. We're going to do a third one, and
it's going to work this time.
It's going to work. 20,000.
I've learned from my mistakes.
Copies.
Yeah. It always, like, I think Static 2, again, I've told the story, I think, before, but it was like doing the premiere. We did a London premiere for Static 2.
Oh, sick.
After the premiere, I stayed in London for a few days, and I skated with some dudes, and there's this guy, Ollie Todd.
Of course.
And again, it's just like, it's basically a bunch of man crushes is what's driven the whole skate industry for years.
Right.
And it's just like, dude, this guy's, nobody knows who this guy is outside of the British skate scene. And he's, it's just like, he's so sick. And that started the ball rolling, and then Pat Steiner was another skater from Florida who had a few tricks in Static 2. Okay. I think that ended up getting him on Traffic, which is Ricky. Ricky had just started Traffic after Static 2. So, and that kid was local in Florida. So it was just, that started filming with Pat, talked to Ollie, started filming with Ollie, and,
So they kind of happen like organically also, right? Like,
it's rarely like a big plan. You know what I mean? It's just like, because I don't think I want to do another one every time finish. You know what I mean? It's like insanely, maybe now maybe at a certain point it's not as taxing, but it's like emotionally, physically, it's such a mountain, climb, and you get to this peak at the premiere, and then every time for me, where I would fail the most, because you finish and you fall off the mountain, it's all over, but then you have to start selling it, which is a whole nother thing, and I was never good at that. At least like calling those distributors and have those relationships, but that to do it properly, you probably could have sold a lot more, but by that time it's like it's
still a lot of work.
You got to the end of the race, and you're just like, you just want to chill for a second, and then
now I got to do all this shit. Yeah, it's crazy.
Now you have to make an 6,000 different versions of Instagram edits, and the Thrasher part, and then post a part on the French website, and then what I mean. So it's like,
what do you think of that when you see a brand like put a video out and then like they just put it on Thrasher's side or whatever else, and they're still trying to sell at the same time?
There's should be a strategy to it. You know what I mean? It should be, and I hate to see like assets, like the strongest video parts are given up so quickly. You know what I mean? I think to make, and not just for a video's purpose of like to sell the most or whatever, to give skaters that experience that we all got to have of having to wait for it and hear, like Kelly's saying, hear through kids in high school hearing from their friends whose friends saw it or whatever, what I mean? And that slow burn is so much, it means so much more. I think, and instead of it's like it's on Thrasher that day, Thrasher hosting parts to whet people's appetites, that's that's awesome, but there's just so many different versions of what a video is now. There's the parts, there's like a 7-minute edit that people call a full video, but then the people who do like the actual full length process and make a hard copy and a fucking DVD menu, which is the worst. To have to remember how to do that, it's like, because it's happened every like 3 years. I'm like on YouTube tutorials again, like, how the fuck do you make a DVD menu? DVD menu. Damn it. But yeah, so Static 3.
How much? How many did you sell? How many did you sell?
Static 3 was the peak. The peak for me for all the videos. It was around 15,000 copies.
15,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the most, like, I hate to overhype something.
Okay.
Because you don't want to build huge expectations, but also I think it's better when something's like more like surprise. Mm-hmm. But I really overly hyped that video.
Did?
There was like I think Strength Mag. No, was it still? I'm thinking I confuse all of them together.
Yeah.
Maybe Strength Magazine was Static 2 stuff. But there's like different magazines. There was an article in this magazine, a smaller, I think, Skateboarder Mag when that was still around.
Okay.
Jamie Owens, like, you know, gave us some articles in there, and like, you know, Slap had articles, I think, when it was still around. But, you know, just was more strategic. I was smarter about it, really promoted the shit out of it. And I would always build a fucking website for... Starting with Static 2, we would build a dedicated website. So I had friends in Tampa, the guy who helped me with motion graphics, the new motion graphics guy, since my other guy became a
billionaire.
I was out on a yacht somewhere. So my friends in Tampa were helping me with the graphics, but they also were, one was a coder for websites, and the other guy was like a motion graphics, and he made music, whatever. So I built a Static 2 site, built a Static 3 site, and it became like obvious, like, what are we doing?
There should have one static site.
Yeah.
One site.
Right.
So that, and the Static 3 site, was there a Static 3 site? I can't remember.
Was there a garage door opening?
Yeah, probably.
Well, because, I mean, even back then, dude, it's like to build a website, there's no Squarespace where you could just put up a little website, you know? It's like a big thing.
Again, the internet or websites were so important. You're like, well, you have to do this now.
Right.
Not only do you have to make a fucking video and go fly around the world, film and do it. So at a certain point, it was like you said, there should just be one website, you idiot. You know what I mean? So instead, and it should have maybe just been a static site, but because I was like, so I was on like the Static 2 or 3 site, I was like writing stories about conspiracy theory shit that I was into. I was like, okay, it should have a broad name. It should just be its own website. So that's where the Theories of Atlantis thing came from.
Okay.
And there's like, I can give you an hour-long explanation of the name Theories of Atlantis, why that made sense to me. But
the long short of it. What
Jesus.
Is there a long there's
not really a short answer.
No?
Essentially, the idea is that I'm super into the like theories, different theories for the start of civilization.
Oh.
And the idea that there was a civilization that existed far before what Orthodox Egypt or archaeology accepts for the beginning of civilization.
Okay.
So, civilization was supposed to have started in Mesopotamia. Mm-hmm. I can't give you a date. Let's say 4500 BC.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like I'm in history class right now.
Yeah.
I love it though. I
love this right now. Yeah.
But there's tons of evidence that there was something else, an advanced civilization, not advanced like they didn't have computers, but they were advanced in navigation and they understood the precession of the stars, and that existed possibly before the end of the last ice age. Essentially, you're Atlantis, which I think is Plato. Told the story of Atlantis that he had learned, but call it whatever you want. Okay. From my research.
Yeah.
There was something civilization existed beforehand, and that's why something like Egyptian civilization it appeared on the timeline fully advanced. You don't see this slow build of like their understanding of how to build pyramids. They were building these sophisticated pyramids right off the bat.
Right.
So there's a multitude of reasons why I think this, but essentially, the idea that civilization there was this lost civilization. Let's say a great cataclysm wiped out humanity, but people survived and protected the knowledge of this of this lost civilization. Mm-hmm. Then you get to Egyptian civilization. The Astronomer Priests. I'm going really sorry. I was trying.
Priests.
The Astronomer Priests. They were essentially the religious, like power of the time. They had an understanding, like scientific understanding, specifically of astrological or astronomical knowledge that doesn't make sense. Essentially, they understood things that we would need computer models to study. 20,000 years worth of the precession of the equinoxes, essentially.
Right.
They used that as basically power. They were the most powerful force in Egypt under the pharaoh. Sorry, this is so ridiculous.
Keep going, yeah.
So moving forward, all the way to the 12th century, you have the beginning of the Knights Templars, who were supposed to go to Jerusalem to protect religious pilgrims during the Crusades.
Okay.
What they really did is they were excavating under King Solomon's temple, trying to find the lost ark, essentially.
Okay.
They're trying to find lost religious artifacts, basically trying to get, they were supposed to protect pilgrims. What they really do is trying to find riches or whatever, but specifically the Ark of the Covenant. The, possibly mythological, artifact. But the theory is they've discovered something under King Solomon's temple, because when they returned to Europe, they were really powerful.
Oh.
But they were like, the church was funding them, but they were like they were basically competing with the church. You guys are about to follow.
Yeah.
Essentially, my point, the theory is they discovered the lost knowledge of these ancient civilizations or something.
Okay, right.
So it's just the theory. And the whole point of the Theories of Atlantis is that the Knights Templars became, like I said, this super powerful force, and then the Pope issued an edict and had them all arrested at some point and killed on Friday the 13th, and that's why Friday the 13th is considered unlucky to this day.
Okay.
But there's no way you're going to use this. This is just way too much.
We're fucking using this.
It's going in.
So essentially the idea is, so when the Knights Templars were basically arrested they became super powerful. And then, like I said, the Pope issued an edict where he secretly worked with all the kings of Europe to arrest all the Knights Templars, have them all executed. Some of them fled out of France because the French king was sympathetic to. They fled and disappeared supposedly in Scotland. 100 years later, Freemasonry appears out of Scotland. So the theory is that Freemason was just a new iteration of the Knights Templarism, and so the Freemasonry now proliferating through the United States was basically founded by Freemasons. Everything. Right. If you go to Washington D.C., people call it a Christian nation. Oh, we were founded on Christian values. You go to Washington D.C., you look at all the architecture. It's all very pagan. It's all very free. It's all formed by Freemasons. But essentially, the idea is that it started all the way back with this lost civilization. The knowledge of that was discovered or carried on by the Astronomer Priests of Egypt. Their knowledge was discovered by the Knights Templars, who became the Freemasons, who basically gave birth to the United States, and thusly to all these secret societies that people theorize exist today. Skull and Bones and whatever. And so that the idea is that it all ties back to Atlantis, the idea of Atlantis. So Theories of Atlantis. It's all related. You could tie every conspiracy theory back by this, concept to Atlantis, where
it all began.
How many times have we explained that before?
2 minutes. Yeah, I've tried to, but I usually lose everybody like halfway through. But
no, I think Kelly was just wondering if the 411 was.
That's the
411 was it all right there. Yeah,
411 was it.
No, I was paying attention, dude.
Who do you distribute right now?
We distribute a total of 8 brands.
8 brands?
Yeah.
Wow.
It started with Magenta.
Okay.
Out of France. Isle out of the
Paul
UK.
Shia.
Paul Shia.
Polar out of Sweden.
Whoa.
We have Hops, Jamal Williams' company out of New York.
Dope.
Traffic Skateboards out of Philly.
Okay.
Ricky Oyola.
Yep.
Christie is a clothing brand that Aaron Harrington is a Polar pro. Him and his friend Pep Kim started. That's pretty new.
Okay.
Clothing brand. We have our own brand called Theories, which is actually that preceded that. I started Theories before there was a,
it was like a website, company. Right, or something?
Well, the website was Theories of Atlantis. I just started, made like one T-shirt at the Static 3 premiere. I wanted to make a Theory shirt, and so my friend Tia and I made them. She helped me screen print them, and then we had like a booth set up at the Static 3 premiere.
Oh, dope!
Nobody bought a single shirt.
Shut up! Nobody bought. How many did you make?
We didn't make. I think maybe like 30 or something.
Okay.
But I was like, well, people. I'm sure some of these people have been to the
Static
website.
3, right?
Right.
That you would think by the third one.
Right. It wasn't a Static 3 shirt.
Oh.
It was a Theories shirt. That was the thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Drop the ball right there. You should have gone Static 3.
Yeah. Made a difference. Yeah.
No, but that's rad. Any other brands do we?
And we're starting to distribute a Japanese brand called Evison.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. And
Okay.
they've been around for a little while. It's a really sick brand, but they just came out with a new video. Just released a few weeks ago, and
sick.
we were blown away by how many people were interested in the brand already. You know what I mean? Like the videos sold through really fast, and you just never know. I figured kids, like
it's big in Japan for sure.
Yeah.
I see it everywhere when I was out there.
and it's really sick. Like, and that's kind of, I think, pretty much across the board on all the brands. But like Evison, like the guy who owns it, and like a couple of the guys on the team, they all they make videos as well. They're filmers, video makers. They're friends in themselves, make music. You know what I mean? It's like
They're
the Japanese.
self-promoters.
Yeah, but the Japanese scene is just incredible.
Right.
They've been doing like, I guess you want to call this like indie thing that's been an explosion in the past 10 years here. They've been kind of like all like DIY, doing that stuff on their own for so long. And it's been influencing a lot of people, you know what I mean, that you didn't know, like other brands and stuff that were influenced by that, and it carries over. And then you see things bleeding into American skate culture that was started by the Japanese essentially, but nobody's making that connection because it's like,
They're really creative on a skateboard. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
You got some crazy spots.
And I think they were pretty far ahead. You know what I mean? People weren't ready for a lot of that.
All right.
And now with like, I think probably just the social media, and everybody's just beat over the head with so much media. To see anything fresh or different, a different approach, is exciting to most people.
It's refreshing.
Now, so, yeah.
Depends what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe sliding down a broomstick on a hummus. But so Theories of Atlantis, like you said, it started off as a website, and then you kind of made a shirt that didn't sell at the and then it just kind of went into, and this was all after Static 3 or during Static 3?
Yeah, it's pretty much like the website, Theories of Atlantis website was built kind of as the Static 3 site, I think. Okay. Or the Static 3 site might have existed, and we transitioned it into Theories of Atlantis site, which I was just like, might as well just have a blog site.
Right.
And I would sell like static videos, of course, but also like, like a rad video out of Japan, or like basically try to make it a home for underground skate videos.
Oh, okay.
Like
so you just kind of get your hands on these things and sell them.
Right.
And it was doing good. People were ordering.
Yeah, I mean, it was
okay.
like, it was pretty patchy, but it was just like, it was just like a side thing.
Yeah.
I would come home from like work or whatever and write, stories about either skateboarding or conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And then had that website, or had the web store. Mm-hmm. And then, I guess it was probably 2000, it was probably about 8 years ago. I started working on Static 4.
Okay.
Which there was a big hiatus. I started working on Static 4 and then like started working on the MIA skate shop video and stopped working on Static 4 for like a year, almost 2 years, and then we took it back. But Soy Panday, who had a full part in Static 3, he and a guy who had a part in Static 4 now, Vivian File, they started their own. They told me they were starting their own brand, which at the time, it's it's now like, oh, another person started another brand. At that time, it was like, you're gonna start your own board brand. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, it was only big brands. You know, and not only big brands. You were hearing daily like rumors like so and so got built or got bought by Exxon Mobil or whatever. You know what I mean? And so it was like that had become such a part of our culture at that point. Companies were being traded, over and then rebought, and Rob Dyrdek, like whatever bought, whatever.
It was just
Yeah.
And so when they told me they were going to start, I was like, that's cool, man. Good luck, But their boards are made in the United States.
Okay.
So they're like, would you be down to carry some on the web store? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? That'd be cool,
Sure.
And so a few boards shipped to me before they shipped to France. People like skate shops started hitting me up, hey, would you be just a couple, what I mean? And so that's kind of how it started. It wasn't like, I worked with Pulio at a restaurant around that same time. And we talked about like, dude, it'd be so sick to have, and Ricky Ola had talked about this for years way back, that it's possible. There's so much energy and things happening on the East Coast for the East Coast to have its own industry as well, know? And the thing that makes the most sense, the place to start would be essentially a distribution company that gave small brands, some kind of like
give you guys
doing
leverage.
it on doing it on your own is one thing. But so if a shop can order 3 or 4 brands all together, it makes sense for them to pay that shipping to get 3 brands, and then it's a little risky to take some new French brand you never heard of, and get 12 boards and ship them to California.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started, and it was like, but like I said, Pulio and I had talked about, man, like it'd be cool to have like a distribution company.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams had just started Hops around the same time, and Traffic had been around for a few years already too. So it was like, man, if you could do it, you could have at least have those couple of brands, and then this kind of organically started happening on the web store with Magenta.
Has it been a difficult build?
Yeah, it didn't take off right off the bat, but it was like this. It was the right time, whereas like Magenta started within that same year. I can't tell you, Palace started.
Oh yeah.
And I was friends with those guys as well. Like Ali Todd was, in Static 3, and then Ali Todd was one of the first writers on there. Same thing, so offered to start carrying their boards as well.
Okay.
And, at that time, it's still, like I said, that what has become the norm now, it was not, hadn't happened yet. So I wasn't like sitting all day in an office like, hey, you want to buy these boards? Hey, I was like working jobs, video jobs. And then, I would answer, send some emails or call some people, and I would call some of my friends who had shops. I'm like, hey, friend, would you want to carry? And I'd have to,
a brand you never heard of.
Yeah. Which now, if anything's new, people are like, yes, send me 12 of them. You know what I mean? But then, it's like, look, Polar, this is Pontus Alves brand, or Isle, this is Paul Shire's brand. It has a lot of history. This is Ricky fucking Oyola's brand, and trying to educate people to it and they're like, I don't know, man, kids here, they just like, it's safe to carry these other brands. I don't think kids, and it's like, no, you're a shop owner. You create the culture that you teach the kids. That's where I learned from. Paul Zitzer's brother actually had a skate shop in Tampa, and that's where I would go to that shop. And
is it Phase something or?
No, it was called Club Skates. His family owned Phase up in Milwaukee, but he started his own shop for a little while when I was like 15. And but somebody like that was the dude I looked up to, him and Paul and his brother Paul, and it's like what they said. What to me was like, that's cool. You know what I mean? And likewise, that's what a shop kind of does in a. So I'd be like, you're the one. If you like it, you're telling me you like it, then get it and
tell the kids.
Push.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Which takes some work and takes a risk.
For sure.
But people get comfortable with just like, oh, that's what they want. Just give it to them.
But at that time, even brands that I really like, everybody had gotten lazy and jaded. And there's a reason why this was going to happen. This explosion of all these small brands. It might have gotten out of control. Some people would say it did. Yeah. But
it was level 1 graphics.
Yeah, it was just bound to happen. Yeah. Right. There was it's just like this. There was nothing exciting happening in 2008 in skateboarding.
Right.
Maybe 2005 to 2010. It was like the brands were just doing. They were safe. There was like the 7 staple brands and so these small brands starting to pop up, there was a culture of kids who were hungry for that and stoked to jump on board
for sure,
and it started lighting a fire under the big brands to be like, oh shit, there's something starting to happen here.
Right.
Well, then at that time too, I mean, the internet started to pop off with skateboarding a lot more.
Oh yeah,
like there's stuff like the Barracks that popped up around that time. With there's different ways that you're get seen,
Yeah.
But you guys are always kind of been traditional skate videos.
Yeah, and because you have all the brands that we have up to this point, they're all owned by dudes who have been in it for a long time, and they're dudes who deserved, like I said, Ricky Oyola deserves to have a brand around what he's created in skateboarding. Sure. But this whole, like you said, with this starting to happen, with like guys leaving their companies and starting their own brand, fell, I think, kind of like in line with the birth of Instagram and this like me culture, you know, this like I'm a star and everybody thinks that they can be, I can start a brand, I can, you know, like, so those two things did happen at the same time. So it's interesting because it did, I would say it got out of control.
Right.
Cause you know, the industry can't support 75 brands.
Yeah.
Pros can't get paid when there's brands who are like willing to
not enough wall space in a skate shop.
Yeah, and if nobody's getting paid on a brand and if people are doing it as a hobby, you know, it's like, fuck, I could start a brand. You know, the product or the wood company, their minimum is pretty low now, so I can just start this and still have my job. But then there's people who've sunk their lives into it, and you know, it's like it's tricky. So it's if somebody can't, you have a board brand, you know, the artist should get paid, the pros should get paid, the guys making the videos should get paid, because it is, as you guys know with this show,
we're still trying to get paid.
Yeah, I mean it's a shitload of work. Yeah, you know what I mean. And there's that constant thing. So I'm sure you've heard probably in comments or whatever. I'm assuming is who the fuck like. You think you should get paid from making a living off skateboarding? It's like, well, there's people who create. I don't want to lump myself into it, but there's people like Mike Carroll and Rick Howard have created so much, like they contributed so much to the culture. They should fucking be able to survive off skateboarding. For sure. You know what I mean? For sure. The people like Spike Jones, you know, Spike Jones, so many people who they've created this culture. It's not like it's just happening. Yeah. It's not like, you know, the amount of hours they're spending sitting and creating, you have to create an infrastructure. You have to have artists like, you know, Evan Heckcox and these guys, like how, it's just, you know, it's frustrating when people are like, you know, how dare you try to...
Skateboarding should be free.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. What?
I mean, skateboarding is free.
Yeah, that should be free too.
No, it is free.
Yeah, skateboarding is free, and it's so that's why it's so successful or so popular, because all you need is a skateboard, and you can just go to a parking lot and you can skate a piece of shit board until it breaks in half.
What do you think about now all this stuff now going on? I mean, like, because there probably are hundreds of companies out there, and like even with Theories of Atlantis, like how do you choose?
Right.
Because you only, what did you say? You distributed 8 brands? Yeah. Like, how do you choose the 9th brand?
Basically, does it need to exist? And in that sense, like, does it fulfill, you know, like, does it give a voice to a part of, like, a country, a city, or a culture that hasn't had a voice yet? Or does it, like, give an art, you know, like, create something new in skateboarding? Right. You know, it can... California's had more than enough exposure, but maybe some new, you know, somebody's going to create something new out of it that's like a whole new experience. You know what I mean? And like,
true, yeah.
There's brands like an Alien Workshop that created such an incredible, like, whole new world that's why it lasted for 20 years. You know what I mean? Because, so
it's still going.
Yeah. So there's brands that are like, I see that are like just pet projects for somebody. True. It doesn't mean you have to go all in. You know, I'm not the guy I shouldn't be able to decide what's a valid brand and what isn't. Right. But if we're going to carry it, I just feel like, does it have a need to exist? You know, like the brand Evison that, like I said, out of Japan that I've always, Japan's given it's given a lot to skateboarding, and they're doing such awesome creative things, but it hasn't had a voice in the United States. So to me, it's like, it makes sense. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's awesome. Like, and we've seen that people are interested in it. So,
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people hit you up though, right, to distribute their brands.
Dude, we've had some of the wildest requests.
What do you mean? What is that? Can you?
No, I mean, there's all kinds of strange. You know, like from like very small things to things I just couldn't believe asked us to distribute them.
And the ones that you couldn't believe asked to distribute you, why? How come you're not distributing it?
Because it just doesn't make sense.
Really,
it doesn't make sense.
Like why?
It just doesn't, like, it's part of a culture that doesn't fit in with what we're doing. Essentially, it's like
Skechers.
and I mean,
he doesn't want to name drop.
No, I know you don't want to name drop. I'm not asking you to name drop.
There's people like friends of ours who are reps or whatever who go on the road and they're like, dude, you guys are killing it, man. I see your stuff everywhere. And like, I wish we were killing it. You know what I mean? I wish from what it looks, perception is, you know, different than reality. There you go. And so there's companies who think that they're like, fuck, this thing's like blowing up. if we could get in there, you know what I mean, it would give we'd get into an into that side of the culture, because it's almost like a fractured, obviously there's like multiple sides to skateboarding culture now, you know what I mean? There's this a very pop side, and then there's there's an underground side, then kids want it to feel underground, you know, we want that experience that we had when we were little kids, and you see that one skater, or you get on a train and there's a dude wearing, you know, a girl shirt, and you're like, you know, you guys know, you know, we're in the club for sure. But with skateboarding getting so, you know, it's out there. Like, you remember how crazy it was to see skateboarding on TV? Yeah. You saw a commercial and there's like a fucking skateboard, and you're like, what the fuck? Oh yeah. You know what I mean? But so now it's like you're so numb to all of that. That's true. That to have that experience of making your, you know, your thing feel special, to bring in a brand that's already part of that pop world wouldn't make sense, you know. And even if who knows if it would be something that would make us money or not, but it's just like it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Man,
what if Revive wanted to come in and get distributed? Would you?
I don't know, man.
No, doesn't serve a purpose. Okay.
Oh, I would love to hear his like point of view on stuff like that too.
I just found out about it. I just found out about that recently.
Isn't it funny? Like, a lot of people, they don't know about Revive and Braille and Andy Schrock and these people. It's great. When I first heard, I found out years ago, but I was like tripping. I was like unbelievable. And it's funny to hear people say like, dude, I don't even, who? I don't know. And it's like, you don't know that this parallel fucking universe exists in skateboarding?
Exactly. I know.
Talk about conspiracy theories.
It's crazy going. I would be at trade shows, and this is like years into us doing Theories of Atlantis. And I remember having a booth at a trade show. Again, I won't mention any names, not that it matters, but certain dudes who I used to work with or for walking by, and they're like, what are you doing here? What is Theories of Atlantis? And just how there's so many subcultures. It's such a fractured world that, you know, or like Pat Steiner, who works at Theories of Atlantis, he also works in that judging circuit for like skate park of Tampa, and like
I sit next to him when I judge something.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, he's tight.
And so he's sitting next to like Jason Rothmeyer and you know, some of these guys who are in that judging circuit from out west. Yeah. And hearing their comments about some of the, you know, they're always picking on him about some of the stuff, because they, you know, it's such like magenta stuff, and you know, or you know, polar riders whose names they don't know, you know, and they're like picking at him because it's to them it's such a different world, but it's just crazy. There's like 5 different like industries within this one big industry. You know what I mean? And that's why nobody's making any money, because it's so split up. But it's rad. It's rad because there's never been a time, I feel like, where the common skater can have a voice like they can now, you know what I mean? And like you said, like with a Revive or something like that, there's so many avenues that are outside of the usual process of becoming known as a skater or as a brand, that people figure out how to milk that the YouTube thing, which is a whole fucking another planet that I don't get it.
But even now, like, YouTube thing is a whole other planet, but even now, like, Instagram is a whole other planet too. You know, I feel like there's like Instagram skaters, YouTube skaters, like.
But how do the Instagram thing? It's like a bunch of wild horses running around, because you can't control those algorithms unless you put money in. But then you put money in, and then people can see that you're paying to advertise, and then it doesn't look organic. It's just like it's a science. You can seriously have like you need to have like a company scientist or whatever, statistician who can like work all this shit out, and like, if you post at 4:26 and you know.
Well, Theories of Atlantis, you guys are killing it.
Where's he going with this?
Static 4 and 5, right?
Yeah, you actually.
I know some shit. I know some shit. Right?
Kelly and I filled him in.
No, I'm asking to fill me in with shit. But listen, is there going to be a Static 6? Can we look forward to a Static 6? Well, 7, 8, 9.
How about a Static
How
brand?
many? Yeah. What are you thinking?
I mean,
what do you
maybe
thinking? What was your favorite Static? Answer that question first. Do you have a favorite Static video? One that you just kind of always go back to?
I mean, if you could like pull things about all you know, like like Jacob Rupp's part from Static 1 is like,
Okay.
there's things that's like, it's weird to talk about things that are your work,
Right.
but it's featuring somebody else. It's not because of me, but Jake Rupp was, Pulio, Oyola, John Ige. There's like things you could pull. Pat Steiner's, Static 3 part, and like Jamal Williams' Static 4 part, and like there's all these things you could pull, and it sounds like I'm going, man, with that thing I did, but I don't mean,
Yeah.
There's like, if you could do a greatest hits album, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's no like.
How about a best of Static?
But then you're leaving people out too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to do,
Yeah, no, I mean, I was really like the Static 3 video, the feeling of, like, it was the most complete to me. I was like happy, and then when that was finished, I was like, but I want Static I like Static to feel dark and like not eerie, but like dark and grungy. And so when I moved to New York about 11 years ago, finishing Static 3, the look and feel of New York City, it's like, man, and there were people who were supposed to be in Static 3 who kind of got pushed out because their parts weren't finished, and it's just like, I have to finish this thing.
Right.
So the Static 4 thing took a while to get it like back on, or to get it going, but capturing that feeling of being in New York for my first time, or living there, for a while, and really like after the fact, I really liked the look and feel of that video as well, and the culmination of like certain parts and stuff in that one that I don't know.
You're gravitating towards Static 3.
No, there's in between I like them all. You can't have a favorite child.
And then you're talking about the people that are in it too.
Exactly.
I know. I'm just asking questions, man.
Yeah.
Should have been prepared for that one.
Static 6.
Okay.
Static 6.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Okay.
And maybe it's something most people don't know, but if you when we put out Static 4, people weren't expecting that it was 2 videos.
Oh yeah.
And if you open it's a box set. If you open it up, and it's like a trifold. There's a spot for 6, because in New York City the green line is the 4, 5, 6 train. There's 3 trains. So that opening of that box set, and the train lines are circles, on the sign. So it's like 4, a 5, and there's a 6. And 6, it's a sleeve that holds a book. It was a booklet for all the photos and whatever. But that sleeve has indentations on it
for a DVD
to fit into. And so that, it's kind of like, if you notice that, you'd be like, what? Wonder what's coming, or if there's going to be something else. So it was kind of like setting up, it was a placeholder, maybe something else will happen.
Or did you get calls like, hey, I'm missing a DVD in the box set?
Well, I actually got an email from the manufacturer about 3 or 4 months later, after we had already shipped, and he's like, hey, those indentations for the thing? He's like, did you test them yet? And I'm like, no. He's like, yeah, we just tested them, and the DVD doesn't actually fit.
Oh, no way.
They didn't measure it right, so they cut it wrong.
Okay. So you're leaving it open-ended.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, every one I say that's the last one, but
yeah,
there's, you never know. But
I'm surprised you never hit me up to do a Static part.
I just didn't, I didn't think you'd be into it.
You were busy shooting the chocolate video.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
That's
well,
true.
Listen, Static 6 comes around. I'm glad to, give you some.
You're available?
Yeah. No. Well, maybe not a full part, but maybe I'll just sprinkle some clips your way.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris's switch flip manual is going to be in every skate video from now on.
So people claim. It hasn't happened yet, but...
Are you still filming with the VX, or...
Yeah. I was like... I was working with HD cameras for like jobs and stuff, and so there was a period where I got used to using HD cameras, and then for Static 4, I went back to the VX, and now it's really weird to touch any camera other than the VX. Huh. So yeah. I'm still using the VX.
Yeah, so Static 6 might come out. We don't know.
When is enough
You're
enough?
Not saying yes or no. But everybody enjoys the videos, dude.
Thanks.
We just want to keep it going, man.
As long as they're free.
If you did a Static 6 HD or VX, You gonna keep on the VX
Oh yeah,
train?
VX. Yeah, static has to be VX.
Has to be. Aren't you sick of digitizing tapes and doing all that shit?
I like the workflow of
Oh, you do?
Of capturing from tape more than the HD
But even
thing.
now with the HD TVs and this and that, like, or are you just saying maybe people are going to watch it on their phones or whatever?
It's it's an endless debate that there's, but I think the combination of that Mark 1 depth lens on the VX 1000 is the best way to present skateboarding.
Yes.
It's the aspect ratio makes more sense, and it's it's going to change because everybody's growing up differently, but we all all our generation, we grew up seeing it in that format, and it's just it
looks good.
It looks right, and it depends on what the application, like the brand. Some HD fits, like the new Lakai video being in a VX format probably might not have felt right. You know what I mean?
That's true.
HD makes more sense.
What about if somebody wants to hire you to do their video, like another shoe company or another board brand? Would you entertain that idea?
I've learned to never say never.
Never say never.
Yeah.
Always take the meeting.
You never got like offer from Converse or anything like that to do something?
I think a lot of stuff, like at a certain point, people saw that I was like, or probably assumed I was dedicated to TOA stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've been doing that for like 7-8 years now. So it's like, he's, he wouldn't do it, or who knows? I don't know. Or maybe people, don't want me associated with something because I'm associated with a brand or a group of brands already. I don't know.
Interesting.
Well, is that tough doing that stuff in the office and going out and filming? Are you filming a lot?
I'd say the past year I'm filming on average like maybe twice a week.
Okay.
But it's like the thing that it's been really tough is I lived in Florida till I was like 29 when I was traveling all that time. I wouldn't have lasted that long probably if I wasn't traveling so much. So I moved to New York when I was 29, 11 years ago, and went from occasionally skating around with a camera bag, usually driving to a spot, and now I'm pushing everywhere with I still carry a 16 millimeter camera, VX 1000. Sometimes I'll bring my photo gear, and so that being like 40 and pushing around, and that's the other obstacle to like, we'll keep the static series going. And
get yourself a bike.
I ride my
electric scooter.
I need to outfit.
Get a bird?
Maybe I need to like build, like, you feel kind of corny maybe being on a bike following everybody around, but it's tough.
We were on bikes today, man, following people around. It was great. It was great. I mean, we were down the beach, but
well, there's those city bikes in New York. A lot of skaters use those to get around. It's
the pay thing. Right.
But sitting in the amount of fucking email, like I literally could do 9 to 10 hours email a day, and it'll never end. But like you said, sitting in that desk and your hamstrings get tight, and then you try to go out and skate after that. It's a struggle.
But listen, we got to wrap this up and everything. But we got a gift. Kelly, will you do the honors, please? Will you grab him? Take your large shirt, medium. Large.
I'm probably a large.
Give him a large shirt.
Unstructured hat.
Appleyard mug. Unstructured hat.
I'll get him one of our new mugs.
Thank you, Kelly, bro. Thank you. Oh, it's a hat too.
It's getting expensive.
I know, right?
Because they're blowing the budget.
We got a 9 Club mug for you here, bro, to take home.
Nice.
Put that in bubble wrap, Raj, for the plane ride.
Yep. Don't want to break some break.
Yeah. Here's a large shirt for you, the 9 Club shirt, and
I like that, just the breast logo.
And a 9 Club. That hair, rabbit hair off there. Unstructured hat for you.
Nice.
There you go, 9 Club hat.
Excellent,
dude. Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's far from amazing, but
thank you.
No,
no.
Really
Seriously,
fucking rad,
it was really
dude.
good, really good.
Thanks.
And theories. I mean, not theory. Static 6. Let me
Hit you
know
up
if you need
one
a
day.
clip.
Okay.
I can go film with Raj maybe. And
is
get
the
a clip or
VX still
something.
working, Raj?
I got one. I haven't really used it too much, but
Really?
I bought. Yeah, I got the.
There's a VX right there.
You know how to use this?
So,
Well, we'll film out here and send you guys clips.
I actually backwards filmed a trick today.
Backwards. What?
I think you're pressing record, but you're actually pressing stop.
Oh, shut up!
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah. I was filming we were filming a trick, and he was like losing it, and he finally did it exactly how he had to do it. And I went to look I went to press stop and the camera went beep, just one beep, meaning it was dead. And I was like, and then just trying to think of how to break the news to him. He's already laying down on the ground like so like okay, thank God it's over.
Who are you filming with?
Christian Malouf.
No, how did he take it?
He just got right back up and kept going.
Kept doing it.
Kept going.
Right. Hey, it happens though. Raj has deleted some of my clips before.
I did them on purpose.
Oh,